Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is the finest Bible bistro on the internet. Come on in, sit down. We're going to have some good Bible study today, I guarantee that. Verses 29 through 31. We're going to take the last 3 verses of Psalm 22. And yesterday we saw the church introduced, 27 and 28. They will remember and return to the Lord all the ends of the earth. We talked about that, the families of the world coming to the Lord. And that happened only because of the cross and resurrection. When Jesus died and was raised from the dead, the Spirit of God fell after that. The church was born. Jesus becomes the head. It's his bride. And now from then on, to this very moment, while I'm recording this, the church is still growing. It's still expanding. God is still calling out of a people, of all the peoples of the world, a group for himself called the church. And so today we're looking at the continuation now of the church. We've established it in verses 27 and 28. Now we're looking at the generations, basically, of the church. Verse 29, and I'm going to read my translation. They will eat and worship before him, all the fat of the land. Before him they will bow down. They will all come to the dust, and his soul will not live. A seed will serve him, and it will be reckoned to the Lord for a generation. They will come. They will declare his righteousness to a people to be born, that it is done. All right, verses 29, 30, and 31. They will eat and worship before him. This is that generation of the church that we've been talking about. But they don't last forever. Because you'll notice, even though the Lord blesses them, notice that they're eating and worshiping before him all the fat of the land. Now, some translate that as the individuals who are eating and worshiping are fat. That is, they're blessed, they're prosperous, because they're in the presence of the Lord. I have translated it in more wooden sense that they're eating and worshiping before him all the goodness that is provided for them, the fat of the land, that is. So the best of all that God provides for the church is being given to the church. Before him they will bow down. This is an act of worship, but it also leads to the end of life, because even in the midst of bowing before him, ladies and gentlemen, so their souls will depart. Notice, they will all come down to the dust. Now, what is that? The dust. Well, that's always representative of death, because we go from dust to dust. So we're going to bow down to the dust. We're going to come down to the dust, and our souls will not live, because there's going to come a time when life stops, right? I mean, even this generation, the generation to which I'm podcasting, one day will come to a close. And when that day comes, there's no one that will be able to keep his soul alive. As a matter of fact, that's the way, let me grab Spurgeon's commentary here on that. He actually translates that none can keep alive his soul. So there's no one that can actually do that. You know, we're all going to die. And then we have 30, but things are not done, because in 30 a seed will serve him. So that generation that passes has now passed on to the next generation, their seed. Now that's not necessarily their seed physically, but it's their seed spiritually. Those that have come to know the Lord, it will be reckoned to the Lord for a generation. All right, now what happens? Verse 31. They will come, and they will declare his righteousness to a people to be born. So that seed, or that next generation of believers, does a work. They're declaring God's righteousness to a people that haven't even been born yet. And then we have this statement, that it is done. This is what Jesus spoke on the cross. So at the end of the cross, we have these words, it is finished. Jesus speaks those words. Here we have it, it is done, in Psalm 22, verse 31. We had the words of the cross at the beginning, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now we have the words of the cross at the very end of this psalm, it is done. Ladies and gentlemen, it is done. Amen. Join me again next week and we'll gather around and study Psalm 23 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.